And I just think they'll continue to improve. So personally, it's like every time you can put Mbappe and Vinny Jr. there because they're great players, you know, arguably two of the best players in world football, and you'll have yourself a pretty good team.
The top of La Liga, now 49 points ahead of Atlético Madrid, who's settled for splitting the points today. Barcelona will be in action tomorrow to try to keep this thing a race. But it has to be said, Real Madrid look like they're starting to pull away right now in this La Liga race, are they not?
They absolutely do, and I like the way they responded. They saw what happened to Atlético Madrid. They had their opportunity. They were playing in the late kickoff over there in Spain. It's only just finished, and they were able to go out knowing that they could get 3 points and pull even further clear from their great rivals, Atlético Madrid, and they were able to do it. As you said, it wasn't vintage Real Madrid. There were moments, particularly early on in the first half, where they kind of struggled to get going a little bit, but they've just been playing so many games. They've basically had 2 a week, and they've had a travel as well for some international competitions. So yeah, they'll be delighted with the performance, the goal scoring. I mean, they've scored so many goals recently. I think it's 17 goals in the last 4 matches. So they are really free flowing. Didn't have Vinny Jr. He picked up too many yellow cards and was suspended, but no problem at all, as you said, with Kylian Mbappé when he's playing like that. And the link-up play between him, Bellingham and Valverde. I wanted to mention Valverde because of the fact that he doesn't really get the credit he deserves in this Real Madrid side. They've got so many players going forward that grab all of the headlines, the likes of Mbappe and Vinny Jr. and Bellingham and the others. But this guy, Federico Valverde, as we say, he only scores bangers from miles outside the box. But he's much more than that. He doesn't just score goals from long distance. He contributes in terms of his effort, his energy. The pass completion rate is 89%. That's a ridiculously high number. Jules won 3 as well. He's a really scrappy player. I don't think he gets enough credit that he deserves in this side.
It's a fantastic point, Adam, because if you are going to be the type of side that is winning trophies, you need 2 types of players, right? You have to have piano players, but you've got to have some piano movers as well. We know those front 4 players are piano players. They tickle the ivory as well as anybody in the world. But if you don't have the players behind that are doing all the dirty work, winning those 3 duels that you talked about, connecting the passes, you can score a lot, but are you going to win the games? Valverde might be the most important player on the team in some respects because he does that dirty work.
Yeah, absolutely. And think of the great La Liga teams, back in the 90s when you had Barcelona and Real Madrid slugging it out. Barca had Pep Guardiola kind of marshalling that midfield, creating. He wasn't the most fancy player, didn't do anything particularly special, but he was able to make that team tick. Zinedine Zidane did it when he was playing for Real Madrid as well. You need those kind of players who can get the ball, keep it, pass it, and allow the stars like Bellingham, who we're seeing there, Mbappe, Vinny Jr. when he's playing, Endrick, all the rest of them. You guys go forward and score the goals and do the fun stuff and get the headlines in the newspapers the following day, and I'll just win the ball and move it around. And that's what Valverde does. And he also, he does contribute with those amazing goals from distance as well.
I can remember earlier in the season, what was it, about a month ago or so, when all of a sudden Bellingham was taking some penalties and Mbappe was missing some, that there was actually talk about whether or not the pressure of playing for Real Madrid was getting to him. That seems comical now, looking back at it. Do you make anything of the fact that his goal-scoring production is higher when Vinny Jr. is not playing?
Personally, I think it's kind of someone trying to create headlines here. I mean, they score when they play together. They also score when they're playing apart. I think I know. Maybe I sound like a diplomat here, but they're both great players. I think if you offered Vinny Jr. and Mbappe together or not to any manager in world football, they would say, well, yeah, of course I'd love to have both players in my team. I mean, it is true as well that Kylian Mbappé has been brilliant recently, 8 goals in all competitions in his last 5 matches. But yeah, I think no one, and particularly not Carlo Ancelotti, would ever want to have to choose between the 2 of them.
To me, it's a basketball team. When you look at like those Golden State Warriors teams that had 5 different guys that could score. One night Steph Curry goes for 30, the next night KD goes for 30. It doesn't mean either guy's having a bad day. But is this now Mbappe's team?
Well, and also I think they will figure it out. I mean, Ian made a great point when we were talking about this a couple of nights ago, was like, well, just as much as you can. Obviously, Vinny Jr. wasn't available today because he was suspended, but play them as much as you can, and then, remember, this is the first season where they've really played together in the same team. So, give them a chance. You've got to get used to playing together, the way the other player plays. Some of the great partnerships in world football in the last 20 years weren't necessarily great partnerships when they started, but they became that way. And as they spend more time together on the pitch, off the pitch, they'll learn about each other's personalities and the way they play. And I just think they'll continue to improve. So personally, it's like every time you can, put Mbappe and Vinny Jr. there, because they're great players, arguably two of the best players in world football, and you'll have yourself a pretty good team.
I can hear every other manager in world football pulling out the tiniest violin to play for Ancelotti. But is it tough for him? Is that a challenge to try to put these egos and fit them all together the right way?
But I think if anyone can figure out the egos, it's Carlo Ancelotti. That arguably is his biggest skill as a manager. He's always been great at working with so many stars in the teams that he's worked with. He's old school in that regard. That he is someone who will be able to sit with a player who feels unloved or isn't perhaps enjoying their football as much as they should, and work with him to then try and get more out of him. And I think he will try his damnedest to get the best out of Vinny Jr. and Kylian Mbappé.
Anything less than a treble of disappointment for this team? That sounds crazy to say, but is that where the expectation level should be?
It should be, given the players they've got at their disposal. I think that the only thing that really could cost them this season is just because they are involved in so many competitions. I mentioned the travel as well. It is really grueling. I mean, they have got, that's also a good point, that they're perhaps lacking slightly in right back, but they do have so many games that if that does cost them in terms of injury, I mean, they've got a big squad, but that might be the only thing that would cost them winning the treble this season.
They look like an absolute juggernaut right now, and maybe stumbled a little bit as they were getting their chemistry going. But Real Madrid, they look like the type of side. And I'm just wondering if there's anybody, like Atleti dropping the points today, is there anybody you see them or Barcelona really mounting a challenge?
Well, to mention Atlético Madrid and that 1-1 draw against Villarreal, where we previewed that game yesterday, I said it could be a tricky one. I didn't think they necessarily would win that easy. They're probably quite happy to get a point after going 1-0 down in the game. But I just think that they did look tired from that exertion in midweek, and they got the result they wanted, of course, against Bayer Leverkusen. I don't think they would have swapped that, but that is the issue when you've got such a crucial game in the Champions League. You put all of your effort, all of your fitness, everything into getting the result that you need. It might cost you at the weekend, and it has proved to be the case in this one, and that's given Real Madrid an opportunity, 4 points clear now.
And for me, Barcelona have shown clearly head-to-head they are capable of knocking off Real Madrid when they face off. But it's that consistency. They've got some young players at some key positions, and they just haven't really been able to show that they can deliver consistently match after match the way they will need to if they want to keep pace with Real Madrid.
Well, they're going to have to, because if Real Madrid keep playing like that, then they may even win out for the rest of the season, and that's the end of it. But I think Barcelona will have built up plenty of confidence from that performance against Benfica. I mean, that was just an absolutely crazy game, and they will be feeling confident going back into La Liga. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on. But I think personally, I can't see past Real Madrid at the moment.